How's it going, everyone? I'm Alexis Lopez TCG, and welcome to my channel. So normally we do a lot of booster pack openings here for different TCGs, mostly focusing on Magic and Lorcana. And I've been working on a small setup to take with me when I do the weeklies and the locals, and hopefully more tournaments or more conventions as we do, to show more actual gameplay. I'm also working on something to have gameplay recorded when I'm at home, when I play with my wife and kid, and of course when I have friends over and we play different games. Or just when I go to friends' houses, have a mobile kit with me that I can record the games and see what I can come up with that. So this is the first video that we actually do that for. So I went to Modern Horizons 3 at my local game store. Shout out Collector Legion for letting me record inside the store. You guys are amazing for that. And I set up the recording there for the actual pre-release matches. So it was a lot of fun. It was about 3 rounds of pre-release matches. I did record, pretty much every single match that we had there. It would have been a little bit too long in this video to show every single match, of course. So I selected 2 matches, one that I lost and one that I won, to show you guys and go through that. And then one in the middle that I really blundered right at the beginning with how I set it up. But you guys will see that in there as well. So hopefully you guys enjoy this video. If you do, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. It really helps the channel grow, and I really appreciate it. Any and all feedback in the comments afterwards, I really appreciate it. Bitfair warning: there is a lot of glare there. Again, it's just me learning how to position the right now. It's actually just setting up my phone to record and stuff like that. So I'm not able to see exactly everything as it's recorded. So I'm not able to see all the glare until afterwards, which unfortunately is a lot of glare. So I did try to, of course, get all the get all the art for the cards so you guys can see exactly what cards are being played and describe the cards as they're coming through. I know Modern Horizons 3 just released, so there's a lot of information to go through with those cards. So I try to break it all down for you guys, including all the game actions that we do and the choices that people made, including the choices I made. So we're gonna go through that. We're gonna walk through match. We're gonna walk through 2 matches, commentate on them, kind of talk about my choices, a little bit of my blunders, some of the lines I saw afterwards, some of the things I learned afterwards. After the match as well. We're gonna go over that. And as always, let's hope we have a great time with this. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and then let's jump in and see what we got for the matches. All right, so what I tried to do for these matches as well is I tried to trim them down. So a lot of the dead air and decision making when I'm shuffling through, or the opponent shuffling through their cards and choosing what to play, it's kind of get cut off. So you're gonna see a lot of cuts in that, obviously, as I go through the matches. So it's mostly for time. I didn't take any of the actions out, so any of the stuff was not edited out. It's mostly just all the abrupt cuts you'll see. It's just mostly for time, whether it's shuffling something, or what to choose, or whether they're trying to decide what to play and what to choose. So you'll see those cuts in there just to kind of make it a little bit more straightforward for you guys, and hopefully you guys enjoy what we're about to see. All right, so the first match we're playing against, I am playing green ramped Eldrazi, so it's actually playing white green Sword Celestia with the ramp for Eldrazi, which is archetype for this one from Modern Horizons 3. Our opponent is playing the tricolor pre-release set that they made. It's actually pretty sweet, so I'm gonna jump into that, and let's go with the beginning of the match. All right, so start off, I play a Tranquil Landscape for turn. That's what I like. Things I liked about this pre-release. It's kind of like a fetch land for basic, which is pretty good. So our opponent plays an island here, casting the Tameo Inquisitive Student. It's a really nice card. So just so you guys know, Tameo Inquisitive Student. I'll put, of course, it's going to be here in the edit for you guys. So it's a creature that comes in. It has flying. It also has, whenever Tameo attacks, you investigate, which is you create a clue token, and then you pay 2. You sack the token to draw a card. And then whenever you draw your 3rd card in a turn, you can exile Tameo and then return her to the battlefield transformed under her her owner's control. All right, for my turn, I play a Plains, and then I go ahead and cast Solar Transformer. Solar Transformer is a really nice artifact here that really helped me out. It comes in tapped, but it does create 3 energy, and then it taps for 1 colorless mana, or I can sack an energy and tap it. Excuse me, I can pay an energy and then tap it to create 1 mana of any color. All right, so opponent here is going to play a Forest, and then they're going to cast Propagator Drone. So the Propagator Drone is your void, which means it has no color. It also states a creature tokens you control have evolved. So what that means is when a creature enters the battlefield under your control and has greater power or toughness than this creature, you can add a +1/+1 counter to the creature token. So it also lets you pay 3 and a green to create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token, which also states sacrifice this creature, you can add 1 colorless mana. So the opponent does something smart here. The Tameo, of course, is a 0/1, but he does go to attack, to combat. The reason he wants to attack with the Tameo It's just he wants to be able to investigate and create that clue token for himself. All right, play forest for turn. And then I go ahead and I cast a Thief of Existence. So Thief of Existence is a 3/4 devoid of Drowsy. When you cast a spell, exile up to one target non-creature, non-land permanent and opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. If you do, Thief of Existence gains when this creature leaves the battlefield, target opponent draws a card. So the only choice I had here was the clue token, so we go ahead and exile that. Then I go ahead and pay one energy counter, and I tap the solar for green, and I cast Horrific Assault. So Horrific Assault is a sorcery spell that states target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. And if you control an Eldrazi, you also gain 3 life. So this really combos really well with Thief of Existence and of course the actual archetype that I'm playing here. And of course I target the Tameo, it being the biggest threat on the board at the moment. Alright, so the opponent plays 9 here for a turn, and then they go ahead and cast Brain Surge. So Brain Surge is an instant which draws 4 cards, and then they put 2 cards from their hand on top of the library in any order. So again, that Brain Surge would have been really good with the Tameo, but luckily we got rid of the Tameo. Alright, so the opponent passes his turn here. I go ahead and pay 1 and a green to cast Stun Stomp. And that's a sorcery with target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. Targeting, of course, the Propagator Drone. Also, Stun Stomp is also an MDFC, so the reason it's on my deck is that, of course, if I don't have anything else as far as lands to play, I can also play that on the land side in order to bring it in. I go ahead and attack with my Thief of Existence, hitting the opponent for 3. All right, so my opponent Nate here plays Planar. He plays Forest Return, and then he plays Planar Genesis. So that's an instant that would look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield tap. If you don't, you put a card from among them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in the library in any random order. So they are looking for land, so they do go ahead and put a forest tapped on the battlefield. So one of the good things that they also got in their deck is they also got some medallions, and actually worked pretty well for the tricolor card they were playing. So they play 2, and then they cast Emerald Medallion, which makes green spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. So on my turn, I tap 1 energy, cast a green, and play a Lion Umbra. So let me actually explain this a little bit here. There's actually a misplay, as Lion Umbra states enchant modified creature, and the creature I attached to was actually not modified at the time. I actually had the cards to make this work properly, but I did not sequence them right. And luckily, it didn't change the results of the match overall, but I had to call out here in the video as I noticed a misplay after the match was over. I also talked about it with my opponent afterwards, like, oh man, I can't believe I totally misplayed this. So luckily, again, it didn't change the actual overall of that. But Lion Umbra also, Lion Umbra states it's enchanted creature gets a +3/+3 and has vigilance and reach. Also here, you can see another misplay on my end. I tapped it when this creature clearly would have vigilance in this case. The opponent does cast an Annoyed Altasar here. It's a 6/5. It has reach and trample plus cascade. They cascade right into a Nightshade Druid or Dryad, which is a really, really good card. It has Death Touch. You can tap for colors, so tap for any mana of 1 color. So it's a really, really good card. And I did see that one a lot today. You'll see it again come out in the next match. So I go ahead and on my turn, I cast Inspired Inventor. So that's a 2/2, and when it enters the battlefield, you choose one of the following. You either get 3 energy, or you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, or you create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact. Now, this is a card I should have played first for the sequencing, because I would have put a +1/+1 counter on the target creature, and then played the Umbra on top of that in order to attach it to the modified creature. But again, the sequencing was wrong, the line was wrong, and I had the misplay on there as well. So of course I put the +1/+1 on the actual thief. I do point at the Dryad thing. Why'd you put that out? Because if I go to attack, they have a Death Touch creature to destroy me. I mean, of course it would destroy the Umbra first, but still. You don't want to just lose it to just a Death Touch creature. Now, this is a card that a lot of people have been talking about lately, which is the Writhing Chrysalis. So it's a 2/3 with Devoid and Reach. It states when you cast a spell, create 2/0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature tokens with sacrifice this creature, and you add 1 colorless. It also states that when you sacrifice another Eldrazi, you put a +1/+1 counter on Writhing Chrysalis. So It's a real good card to just keep pumping up and keep making bigger in the field and getting some good damage out of it. So luckily right now the video actually doesn't have a lot of glare. As you can see, some of the like on the edges though, on the bottom, and then of course at the top here. Like you're seeing a lot of the actual glare on the field. So that's one of the things I was talking about when it came to this match is like unfortunately you're gonna see a little bit more glare as well in the second match, but you know, we tried our best what we could to you guys. All right, so this one here, I do go ahead and cast a Nyxborn Hydra for X and a green with X being 5. So it's a 0/1 enchantment creature. It can be bestowed for X and 2 green, which means it makes an auto spell. It can be enchant a creature, but I just cast it as regular. It has reach and trample, and it enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters. An enchant creature gets +1 for each +1/+1 counter on Nyxborn Hydra and has reach and trample. So in response, the opponent was actually really good with that, and they cast a Hope Ender Coatl in response, which really does end my hopes here. It's a 2/2 flying creature with flash. It also states that when you cast this spell, counter target spell an opponent counters unless they pay 1. I had tapped out, so I didn't have 1 to pay. And it's also a creature is a spell while it's being cast, so this counters it, and it also had tapped out, so nothing I could do. So my opponent here sacks the Eldrazi spawn to add a 1 colorless, which also triggers a Writhing Chrysalis to add a +1/+ counter to it. And then he follows my same path and he casts a Thief of Existence, exiling my Solar Transformer, which again, it's a really, really good artifact, especially when you're trying to get that mana fixing that you need in your deck. So it being exiled right away really does take it away from me. But the same thing happens to me now. If their Thief of Existence goes away, I also get to draw a card this turn. Like looking back at this match, it's just great. Like just I had a lot of fun at the pre-release, and I really, really enjoyed this actual like not just the matches, but just this limited setting. It was all very powerful, so very grindy, but you always felt like you had a chance. It didn't always feel one-sided, so that was what made this limited pre-release actually a lot of fun. So you see here, the opponent's gonna attack with the Annoyed Altasaur and the Hope Ender Quado. I block his Altasaur with my Thief, which would live after combat damage. So the opponent casts Galvanic Discharge, dealing 2 damage to make sure my creature on my end would be destroyed. But of course, the Umbra was on it, so the Umbra in this case will be destroyed first. The +1/+1 counter was added on there, and it does stay there because it was not part of the Umbra. So I take the 2 damage for his Hope Ender Quado. All right, once I draw here, I actually draw into another artifact that I played, which is a Warm Power Stone. So it also enters the battlefield tap, and I can tap it to add 2 colorless. So again, this really helps out my mana fixing, especially when you're playing Eldrazi in a colorless setting. So being able to have those artifacts ready to go, really, really good. But it does come in tapped, of course. I go ahead and pass my turn, and then see what the opponent casts. So he plays another forest for turn. So now he's at this point drawing lands. Unfortunately, no reach or flyers for me, so he does attack with his Hope Ender Quado. He also chooses to attack with his Writhing Chrysalis. So as I declare blockers, he does go ahead and sacrifice Eldrazi Spawn to add another +1/+1 counter to the Writhing Chrysalis. So they both clash and none of the creatures go away at my end. So we survive yet another turn, but we do get hit for 2 again in the air by that Hope Ender Quado. That is like one of the things here. Like not having reach was tough. There's a way to get reach obviously with the enchantments, but one got counter when I put out there, and then the Umbra is already destroyed, so no reach from me at this hand. I do go ahead and cast here a Faithful Watchdog, which is a 0/0 with Vigilance. It does enter the battlefield with 3 +1/+1 counters on it. So again, this is another creature that if I would have played the Umbra on this creature, that would have worked correctly, since this is already a modified creature as well. So it's like things like that to remember for when I do play that card next turn, because it's a really good card in that Umbra. But can only be attached to modified creatures. He does swing his uh, Hope Ender again in me, so I take 2 in the air. All right, so I see my opportunity here, and I'm trying to see like, okay, what do I want to play? What do I have in my hand? What I want to hold on to? And I do see he has pretty much all his mana up, but I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and tap it. Let's see what we can do here. So I, for now, attack with my Thief of Existence, and then he blocks it with the Writhing Crystal. Writhing Chrysalis. I was forgetting exactly what it's called. All right, he swings his flyer at me again. He hits me for 2. All right, still seeing that he has mana up, but seeing what I can play, and I have the Eldrazi in my hand, I really, really want to cast this card. So I'll see what happens. So I go ahead and tap out almost, pretty much, and I cast a Null Drifter. I do leave 1 up based on his other counter that he had. It's a so Null Drifter is a 4/4. When you cast a spell, draw 2 cards. It has Flying and Annihilator 1. It can also be evoked for 2 and a blue. The opponent casts a Aether Spike. So now this is actually a good counter because I only had 1 up because I had seen the other counter he had played before, and I was like, if I have to pay 1 mana, I can pay it here. Also, Aether Spike though is an instant that states choose target spell. You get 2 energy for then you may pay any amount of energy. Counter that spell unless his controller pays 1 for each energy paid this way. So he did use the 2 energy up, so I had to pay 2 mana, and of course I only had 1 up, so I couldn't pay that as well. I also made a mistake here though. This is actually another side that I learned afterwards that I made a mistake. I do actually use it well in match 2, and we'll see that. But in match 1 here, I actually made a mistake. When I cast that Null Drifter, the actual cast has a trigger. So even though it got countered, I still cast the card itself. So that actually is on the stack for the trigger, which means that here I could have drawn the 2 cards and had already cast that spell. So even though it was countered, the spell itself had already been cast, which made it put it on the stack. So after the counter resolved, the cast would still be on there, and I would have drawn the 2 cards off the cast trigger. So again, this is something that I learned afterwards going over it on my match, and then use it correctly for match number 2 here that I'll show you as well. But still, I know Drifter getting countered. It is tough. And a spoiler for a little bit later on, it gets countered again. So it just, I could not play that card. So the opponent's going to cast here Basking Brood Scale. It's a 2/2 creature with the Void, which means against colorless. It also lets you pay 1 and a green to adapt 1, which he does. It just means if this creature has no +1/+1 counter on it, put a +1/+1 counter on it. It also states that whenever 1 or more +1/+1 counters are put on it, you may create a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi spawn creature token with, that's right, sacrifice this creature and you add 1 colorless. And again, creating that is also smart because you can sack that, and then of course the Writhing Chrysalis gets another +1/+1 counter when you cast attack an Eldrazi. So he attacks me with that and the actual flyer, the Hope Ender in the air as well. So I double block his Chrysalis to make sure that I can pretty much try to get rid of it. So I block it with my Thief and my Inventor. He chooses to hit my Thief first, killing it, but my Inventor does live. So tough day but I have to double block. I have to do what I can. I couldn't get anything else here, but I do play another land. Again, I really like these lands here when it came to this matchup because they let you sacrifice them and search for basic land. So again, mana fixing was really good in this set. So if you haven't had the chance to do like a sealed event, I know like actual pre-releases have been difficult to get to it now that they're over, but try and do a sealed event on Arena if you can. I also reminded my opponent here that he hadn't drawn off my Thief of Existence being destroyed, so I did make sure he drew off that card as well. And he's going to play here an Amp Raptor. So it's a 2/1 with first strike. It also saves when it enters battlefield. You get 2 energy. And then if you cast it from your hand, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card by paying an amount of energy equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. So his first card that he exiles into is a Solar Transformer as the first card. Of course, it comes in tapped, and he gets to even, again, cast and get 3 more energy. So then he attacks me again with his Hope Ender Quado, hitting me for another 2. And actually choosing to also swing with his Thief of Existence here. So His thief and his opener are coming at me. So I double block again. Again, my inventor and my faithful watchdog against his thief. So I did something a little bit different here. I also responded right before damage. I also cast Flare of Fortitude. So Flare of Fortitude is an instant which states you may sacrifice a non-token white creature rather than pay the spell's mana cost. And until end of turn, your life total can't change. And permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible. So luckily here with the double block, my creatures do have indestructible, so they don't die. I also don't take any damage since my tie total cannot change from that Hope Ender. So I do get to draw a card off his Thief of Existence Sign though, which is really good. Honestly, this is a lot of fun. This is a good back and forth as well. My opponent and I were having a lot of fun talking about it. Like, oh man, this is a good match and going back and forth. It's really, really good. All right, so on my turn, I also play a Basking Brood I go ahead and I adapt it as well. So I had the +1/+1 counter it, and then I go ahead and also create the Eldrazi spawn. Which, of course, my opponent was nice enough to let me use this token the way I've let him use my energy counter tokens as well. It's what you do. Like, you're not gonna get all the tokens in your pre-release, so you gotta help each other out, right? You just gotta remember that at the end to give them the tokens back because they need to be able to use them specifically for their matches later on as well. All right. I tackle my watchdog and he blocks it with his dryad, which, as we all remember from when he cast it, has death touch. But it is what it is. We did remember though that this watchdog has vigilance, so I don't tap it when I'm going to combat. He was trying to save it maybe something bigger, but he also didn't need mana off of it. He was cleaning mana on his side. So the dryad had to go. Sacrifice for the greater good. Oof, this was a good one here. The opponent casts Fang Flames, which is a sorcery which states devoid. It also deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that creature or planeswalker would die this turn, exile it instead, and targeting and killing my Brood skill, which of course exiled it. And then he attacks me with the Basking Brood skill and the Hope Ender Coatl. So I do block. Luckily, I do have Elo draws. Token there that I can use to block. So I do take just the 2 in the air. All right, so for this one, I able to pull a decent card out. I do go ahead and I cast a Nyxborn Unicorn with the bestow cost of 3 and a white, and I do attach this to the inventor. Sorry, and this one means that it's a 2/2 enchanted creature that has mentor. The creature gets +2/+2 and has mentor as well. So when I do attack and it's something that's smaller that's attacking at the same time, it also gets a +1/+1. But I go directly and attack with my inventor, letting him take 4. This is a great play here too, like a great creature that they had in their hand. They're able to cast, the opponent's able to cast a Wumpus Aberration. So it's a 6/6 devoid creature with trample. It states that when you cast this spell, if the colorless wasn't spent to cast it, target opponent may put a creature card from their hand onto the battlefield. Since he did pay with the colorless, I can't put a creature from my hand onto the battlefield. So he goes full on swing, and I have no blocker, so I have to take all the damage here. So I take 7 total damage. A lot of fun. Definitely a lot of fun here, right? All right. We're coming here to the end of the match. I'll let you guys know here. The opponent has 7, I have 4, so it's been a really close match. And I tap out here, including 9. So I play 9 in the green, try to cast a Nyxborn Hydra, but this is also a bit of a misplay. So I cast the Nyxborn Hydra, and I passed it with X equals 9, so it would have come in with 9+1/+1 counters. But I could have bestowed it at a cost of X and 2 green, with X being 8 to attach it to my creature already in the battlefield. This would have given my inventor a +8/+8 to make it a 12/12 in total. But either way, that would have left me 1 life point off from lethal. If I would have had just 1 more mana, aka if I would have had my solar on there when he exiled it, which did a really good choice. And we see the effect that I hate here in the end. When he exiled that solar, he took away that mana that I would have had in the artifact. So I needed just 1 more to attach it to my inventor to give it a 13/13 to go into his 6/6, which would have giving me 7 damage, which means I would have had lethal. Unfortunately, could put it off, and I did also misplay it by just having the Hydra out there itself at a 9/9 with the ++1. So he is going to be attacking with 2. I was only going to be able to block 2, but he had enough in the creatures to hit me for 4 damage, regardless of what I blocked and what I did. So I had to concede, but that was a great match and 1 mana away from actual having lethal in this turn, which would have been a great win because I was kind of on my back foot a lot of this whole turn and just back and forth and going to it. But you know, this is why the consequences of having exciting artifacts that give you the mana is good in this setting. He did go ahead and make the right choice, and I did lose. So, fortunately, though, even my misplay with the Umbra didn't really churn the actual tides of the battle here as to what it was or to what the issue was. So even though it was a misplay, it didn't really change the outcome because I did end up losing, which I would have lost anyway by playing the actual cards incorrectly. So that was match number 1. I hope you guys enjoyed that one, and we're gonna be playing a little bit excerpt, of match number 2, and then I'm showing you match number 3 to finalize this video. And again, let me know any notes so far you guys are enjoying this. If you guys are liking how I'm commentating over it. I said I took a bunch of notes to try to talk through all the game actions so that way you guys can see it. I know there's a lot of glare and stuff, so I tried to also make sure I showed you guys the art. So you guys can see everything going there. I'm keeping the live totals on track there for you as well. Luckily, my opponent in this case he had his phone out, so you're able to kind of see the live total there as well. But I'm making sure I have that on the actual video for you guys as well. But again, let me know any comments. Any all feedback will be great for this video moving forward. And of course, we'll see what we can do with more of that. So let's go on to match number 2. This is it's going to be short because I'm going to just show you one of my actions. And that's about it. So in this one, it's a little funny because I am so confident in what I have. I mentioned, of course, the beginning, like, hey, I like those lands that let you sacrifice and get a basic one, right? So I confuse it. I confuse it here with my artifact, my solar as well. So I start explaining this card to my opponent, and I'm like, hey, this is what it does. This is tap, da da da. And then I notice this is an artifact. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, oh my god, horrible, horrible, horrible. So I only had 1 land in the beginning, and I didn't mulligan. My opponent and I are just laughing at my blunder. But hey, mistakes happen. I looked at what I had seen, and I thought that was the card that we were playing, and it was not. So, big blunder, but I hope you guys had a good laugh of that one, because I sure did. I tried to play an artifact, and then tried to explain to my opponent what it was, and I'm thinking, hey, this is fine. This is correct. When in fact it was not correct. So, hey, magic happens. All right, so we're gonna move on here to match number 3. Was also a close one, and this was also like an Eldrazi ramp battle, which was a lot of fun. The opponent on their end was also like newer to Magic, so you're gonna see a couple of people like going through the match, and like you can see I'm helping him out. His friend's helping him out on next to him as well. We're having a great time and introducing him to Magic. This is his first pre-release, and he's jumping in at Modern Horizons 3, so a lot of tough ones to come into. So I hope you guys enjoy this match. Let's see it. So he plays the forest for turn, and he passes. All right, fair magic. Let's go. I play plains for turn, and I pass. All right, so he's coming in with blue-green ramping for Eldrazi as well. So he plays an island for turn, and he passes. I do play a Burn World Clearing, which is the MDFC for the Slump Stop. It comes in tapped, and I can play for either mountain or forest, but it does come in tapped, so I can't use it yet. So again, I pass. All right, so my opponent plays a forest here for a turn, and guess what? Nothing to play yet. He does passes off. Don't worry, it gets interesting here. So I do play planes, and then I do cast a Worn Power Stone, which again comes in tap, but it is an artifact, and it does help us out when it comes to mana fixing. All right, so an opponent plays an island here, and then he does cast the Nightshade Dryad. So remember, I mentioned it; it's gonna come up again. It came up again. So Nightshade Dryad was a good card that people were using in limited, especially when it coming to green. It's a great mana dork to let you get more mana there available. All right, so here I play one of my favorite cards and my pre-release card for this set as well. It's a Sowing Myco Spawn. This was my stamp card for the pre-release. It's a 3/3 Eldrazi Fungus with Devoid. It has a kicker for 1 and a colorless. So now it states, when you cast a spell, search your library for a land card, put it into the battlefield and shuffle any land card, by the way. No restrictions on it, and it does not come in tap. And of course, it also states that when you cast a spell, if it was kicked, exile target land. I put a Twisted Landscape for turn, and then I play Distinguished Conjurer, which is a 1/2 human wizard. It states whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. You can also pay 4 and a white, tap this card to exile another creature you control, then return to the battlefield under your own control. This also means that the creature coming back gains me 1 more life from the ETB trigger, and it could have been more relevant later on, and I'll talk about that soon. Alright, so my opponent plays a Forest and then a Corrupted Shapeshifter. It's an Eldrazi, and it's void. It states as it enters the battlefield, it becomes your choice of a 3/3 creature with a flying, a 2/5 creature with vigilance, or a 0/12 creature with defender. He selects a 3/3 creature with flying. He then attacks me with the Nightshade Dryad, and I block it with my Myco Spawn. So they both die since his creature has Death Touch, and my Myco Spawn, of course, is enough to destroy his Dryad.
Yeah. Okay. So then they both die, right? Do they both die? Okay.
Yeah, because this one has Death Touch and this is a 3/3.
Okay.
Bringing back good old Faithful here. I do tap and I play a Faithful Watchdog, which of course is a 0/0, but it comes with 3 +1/+1 counters. But as you can tell, this match is one of the things I talked about. It does have a lot of glare, and I do gain, of course, 1 life off the Dryad Conjurer trigger here as well, with the creature coming in. But this is what I'm talking about. I unfortunately did have more glare. Obviously, we move tables for the rounds that we do pre-release, so I apologize for the glare on this one.
Put the recording back on. I didn't draw the land I wanted.
Nightshade Dryad back again. It's a powerhouse in limited. Powerhouse in this format, and very, very good time. So he does attack me with the 3/3 flyer. I have no reach and I have no flyer, so I take the 3 damage. I'm explaining there as well that the Myco Spawn had a kicker, and I could have destroyed one of his lands if I would have kicked it, but at that time I didn't have enough for the kicker anyway. But it is part that explained it. I think it's going to get a lot of play because it brings in a land card, doesn't have to come in tap, and it also has a kicker. We're going to destroy somebody's land. It's a really, really good card, especially when you're playing green. Alright, so I go ahead and sacrifice my Landscape for a Forest that comes in tap, and then I cast a Basking Broodskill. So this time I don't adapt the Basking Broodskill. I was holding on to some other cards, I believe, for some other things, but I do get the +1 life from trigger from the Conjurer. And then I go ahead and attack with my Watchdog. Trying my best to get through and making sure his Dryad doesn't stay alive. He does block it with his Dryad, which is kind of what I wanted. I did want to sack that myself. So my Watchdog did get sacrificed, but his Dryad is also gone off. And he didn't need lands, so we're making sure that he couldn't have that on there. He did find the MDFC, which is really, really happy about. It does come in tap, so it does give us more turns without him being able to cast more crazy stuff.
Yeah. I got 2 of them in my release. A regular and a foil. It's going to enter tap, but at least it's a land. Yeah. Yeah. Pre-band even. Pre-band, yeah. It's almost as if Wizards doesn't cater to Pauper.
At this point, we're just like all like shooting the shit and just having a lot of fun, like talking through this, just talking about Magic, talking about the set, and all that. The opponent here is going to cast Tamio Meets the Story Circle, which is an enchantment saga. So it's an enchantment that steps 3 steps. So step 1, until your next turn, whenever a creature attacks you or a planeswalker you control, it gets -2, -0 to end the turn. Step 2, discard any number of cards and investigate twice for each card discarded this way. And then step 3, shuffle up to 3 cards from your graveyard at your library. And again, he attacks me with the Shapeshifter. Again, no reach or flyer on my end, so I do take the 3 damage. That Shapeshifter is going to be putting in a lot of work, and you'll see it moving forward, because it's just a flyer, and it's tough if you don't have anything that can defend with reach or flying. You guys remember when I said that I casted that Null Drifter again? Well, here it goes, Null Drifter for turn, and he responds yet again with another Aether Spike. So again, being countered by the same thing it got countered last time. It comes in, it works out. So again, Aether Spike is another, again, just reiterates instant. You get 2 energy when it comes in, and then you may pay any amount of energy, and then the counter that spell, unless his controller pays 1 energy for each counter this way. Or sorry, the opponent plays mana for each energy spent this way. I didn't have any actual mana up anymore, so he just used 1 energy in order to counter the spell, and of course counter my Null Drifter. So my Null Drifter, unfortunately, did not get to see the battlefield this turn, but I do still get to get the cast trigger, which I do see, and I do in this turn, which is draw 2 cards. Energy counters are so weird because they're not actually like permanents on the field; they're counters that the player has, which is something different. That came up a couple times because I thought it was like doing things with permanents and stuff, and energy counters were not permanents in this case. All right, so my opponent here is going to cast a Territory Color. It's a 7/5 Devoid Drazi with Reach. It also has Landfall. Whenever a land to battlefield under your control, look at the top card in your library. If it's a creature card, you may reveal it and put it in your hand. If you don't put that card into your hand, put it into your graveyard, and then attack. And he attacks again with 3 for 3 with the Shapeshifter. So again, that Shapeshifter continuing to put in the work against a really, really good card.
Literally just lost to this guy. No, this is the power level. Everyone's complaining. Wow, why the fuck for 5 mana you get a 7/5 with reach, and it has reach and landfall
and other text.
Okay.
Right here, the guy's commentating on the fact that the blue card has reach. It's like, what? Come on, it's a blue card and has reach. What is this? Like, like talking about the things that are coming out through. So here I do cast a Cat Thief of Existence, and I do exile his enchantment, and then of course let him explain to him that with my Thief of Existence eyes, he does get to draw a card off of it. And then of course I gain 1 life off the Thief coming in, and which triggered the Divine Conjure. And then I go ahead and cast the Solar Transformer, and I gain 3 energy counters myself. So having more ramp because of both the artifacts here are giving me the chance to get colorless, and of course I can pay energy in order to have mana of any color with that Solar Transformer. There you see me remembering that I have the 1 life gain trigger.
Where's my kicker? I should make him destroy lands.
Alright, opponent is going to cast a Petrifying Meddler. It's a 4/5 Devoid Eldrazi with Reach. It states when you cast a spell, tap up to 1 target creature and put a stun counter on it. He does choose my Thief of Existence. He also then attacks with his... so I put a stun counter on it. Luckily I did remember to take the little counter off the pre-release. I can have a stun counter on it as well. And then I think he does, yes, he does attack, of course. Excuse me, with this Shapeshifter and his color. That color is big, so I do have to block the color since I can. I block with my Brute Scale, and since it doesn't have trample, I don't take the damage, but I do, of course, take the damage off the Shapeshifter. Well, unfortunately, my creature does die. So I almost untapped there, but luckily the stun counter, that's what it's for. I remembered, hey, I gotta take out the stun counter, and my creature still stays tapped after we got targeted last turn.
Now, basically, what they've been doing to me every game, they've been removing my flyers. I have another flyer in here, Electroza, little jellyfish or whatever. Yeah, they've been, and then I have the worm.
Trying to decide exactly what to play, how to play. I noticed that he doesn't have any like mana up because he's already tapped out. So I'm like, okay, this time one of my Eldrazi is not gonna get countered, and I do go ahead and pay out and pay for the Breaker of Creation. This is one of my favorite cards that I opened up, and one of the reasons why I wanted to play the archetype I played. So it's an 8/4 Eldrazi with Annihilator 2, which is whenever it attacks, defending player sacrifice 2 permanents. It also states when you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each colorless permanent you control. Lands, basic lands do count as colorless, so I gain a total of 10 life, and it also has hexproof from each color. Very nice. The Annihilator 2 here is very, very important because it does make them sacrifice permanents. And again, I'll talk about it a little bit after the match is over, but I did learn of a little combo that I could have had going that my friend, of course, was nice enough to point out to me after the match was over to make sure that he didn't intervene. But yeah, I could have been having Annihilator 2 pretty much going off each time, and I'll tell you how I do that in a little bit. But yeah, I gained 10 life, not just off the actual creature, but then I also get another +1 because of the Into the Battlefield trigger from the Conjurer.
Colossal Dread Mask. I create
All right, so he does a Colossal Dread Mask, which is a living weapon, which states when this equipment enters the battlefield, create a 0/0 black Phyrexian Germ token, then attach it to it. And then the creature gets +6/+6 and has trample. And then you can equip for 3 and 2 green. Very, very powerful card. Having a 6/6 on the field, he already has like the actual flyer he's been attacking with. He's gonna have other stuff on the board. He honestly was playing a really, really good like little archetype in hand on the side as well. Again, this is a lot of things to keep track of like, with these cards. So like we did have a landfall trigger, so he did get to see look at the top card of his hand, and he remembers, hey, it's a May ability for the other stuff with the actual trigger. But he does send his flyer at us, and deciding whether he wants to add or stuff like. All right, so he does send both of them at me, the Meddler and the Shapeshifter. I'm trying to figure out whether I want to block with anything, when I want to let it go through. It's a tough choice, tough decision to make, whether I want to like do one or the other. I mean, blocking it'd be great, but I decided to take the damage, hoping that I can live on a little bit longer and have more choices to make when it comes to my turn, especially because my creature now is untapping. And the last one, it had the stun counter, but it does not have the stun counter on it this time. And I do have the breaker, so at least it will have the Annihilator 2 going off there. Play a Transcool Landscape here for turn, and then I cast Proud Pack Rhino. So Proud Pack Rhino is a 3/3 creature with state. When it enters the battlefield, choose one. Put a shield counter on targeted permanent or proliferate. So I don't really have anything I want to proliferate, so I do put the shield counter on my Breaker of Creation, which means it will be able to attack twice if it doesn't get destroyed before then, to go ahead and cast Annihilator 2 each time. I go ahead and cast a Writhing Chrysalis, which is a 2. Again, when it comes in, it creates 2/0/1 spawn for the cast, and when they are sacked, put a +1/+1 counter on the Chrysalis. That Chrysalis is also a common, so that's why like a lot of people been talking about it and like how crazy and so it is. So this time I don't have no drowsy spawn token, so I do use the back of a card for a token. I do, of course, point it out here for you guys. You guys can remember what that token is as well. The shield counter is now on their pack right from the pack right now. Again, setting up the board, hoping that I have enough things to do so I can go ahead and attack with the Breaker Creation and have that Annihilator 2 go off more than once. So I do attack with that directly, triggering the Annihilator 2 on my opponent's board, so he does have to sacrifice 2 permanents. So even if he does destroy this turn, I get to live once because of the shield counter, which is really, really good. All right, so I'm explaining to him what the Phyrexian Germ does. Like, even though it does die, the actual weapon that he has is still on there. He can actually equip it to other things, so it's not too crazy. He does choose to sacrifice some of his lands here, and one of his creatures, and of course, making sure he makes sure he has creatures on the board. His flyer doesn't go away. His Germ, which is the big one, still stays up. And now he has to choose his blockers. Yeah, so it's just we're here just reminding him like, hey, even though your Germ dies, your living weapon still stays, so you can actually equip it to something else later on. So my Eldrazi is only an 8/4, so in this case it would have died, but the shield counter saved it. Ooh, so my opponent here actually pulled off a really nice land that he drew, and he's gonna play. It's a shifting woodland. It's a land that enters tapped unless you control a forest, which he does. And it also has Delirium for 2 and 2 green. So shifting woodland becomes a copy of a target permanent card in your graveyard until end of turn. Activate only if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. So it's actually a really nice card, especially if you have something really good in the graveyard, or like in this case, you don't you're not afraid to sack permanents because you have to, or block things. You have something in your graveyard, you go ahead and you make your shifting woodlands a copy of that. It's really good. He's going to go ahead and pay the cost to attach his living weapon to his flyer. So it's a 9/9, which is nuts.
And I'm gonna swing the flyer at you.
I take the 9 here. Oh man, looking back, I'm like, what did I do? I don't know if I had. Actually, no, I do have the Writhing Chrysalis, so that does have reach. But for the moment being, I choose to take the damage. I wanted to have more creatures up, I guess.
I pass your turn.
Again, life is resources. You gotta. You're not. It's not over till you hit 0. So while you have it available, you still have the resources. All right, so I play a planes for turn on my end. So I cast Wing It here. It's an instant that gives target creature +2/+2 until end of turn, and it has a flying counter, and I get to scry for 1. And I forgot to scry. Way to go, me! I put that in my notes. Hey, way to go! You forgot to scry.
We have sacrifice 2 permanents for the attack, and then it's flying. It's coming from my lands. Oh no. Okay, so I just lose 2 lands here then, huh? And
So again, the point of this, I guess, I was just attacking to make sure he sacked the 2 permanents, even if they both, and then knowing that he was gonna block with the creature, I know they're both going away. But hey, I still get him to sack 2 permanents on top of that, so my trade is really good on top.
all right, then I'll do that. So you lose your defender now, right?
This one, yeah. So I still have reach for that, but this will die.
Yes. Okay, we'll do that. I'll go through.
So he did go down for lands, but he also lost a creature. So now I have a couple more creatures on the board. I know he's been having a lot of fun swinging with that shapeshifter. So I'm like, okay, if he's gonna swing again, that's fine. We can block it. We have something to block it with, and we can actually still do damage and make sure it goes through on our end. Now, one thing to remember here as well is that his shapeshifter is now half trample because of the Colossal Dread Mask. So one of the things I choose to do here is sack both my Eldrazi tokens to give my Chrysalis +1/+1 for each one, so +2/+2. And then I block with that against the shapeshifter. So now I only take 4 damage since it's a 4/5, and the 4 damage tramples through. My Chrysalis does die, but hey, let's damage. So now I'm down to 4 life here. Difficult, but we have to fix it and try to survive here. What can we pull off? All right, so I play Contaminated Landscape, and then I pretty much pulled off a card from the draw that I really had like good luck drawing, and that is a Nyxborn Hydra, which you've seen before. So I play the X and 2 green to bestow it, with X being 10. So I play 10 and 2 green and attach it to my Thief of Existence, making it a 13/14 with reach and trample. So this, after this point, after I cast it, it's pretty funny enough. It kind of becomes a stalemate with none of us wanting to attack him. If he attacks, he was gonna be able to hit me for 4, pretty much to destroy me. So I had to keep my blocker up. He didn't want to let me go through because it's a 13/14. But I do have other creatures, and I do attack with those, and I do hit them. So very nice. So 13/14. So this is not the Umbra. So this is not the one that had to be attached to modified creature. So luckily, it's just a regular Nyxborn Hydra, which means that it could be attached to any creature. So 13/14. It has saved my life right here. I would have been dead in next turn if I didn't have that, because I don't have anything else to reach.
Also, just so you know, when this dies, this still becomes.
And then I just remind them, like, as well, like, hey, if this creature here dies, this a Hydra then becomes it's a 10/10 Hydra on its own. He does play a polluted Delta, sacks it, and he looks for a island. But yeah, that's one of the things I liked about that actual Hydra. It's like in the living weapon. It's like in the Hydra in this case is the moment that the creature detached to dies because it's an aura. it detaches, but then it becomes its own creature. In this case, it would have been a 10/10 creature because of what I paid for X. So this is why you ramped up in the archetype when it came to green. Just being able to have that many counters on it, really, really good.
Oh, it's a 30. Oh, I thought it was a 10. This is a 10.
So this is a 10, but it's a 10.
13, 14. That's a great card. All right, so he taps out here. He pays. Sorry,
Harbinger Sea.
two in the, I believe two in the blue. He plays our Harbinger of the Seas. So it's a 2/2 Merfolk Wizard, and it states non-basic lands are now. That's right, islands. So as you can tell, all my non-basics that I have there in the middle that are tapping colors now tap for only blue. Luckily, I do have artifacts that do tap for colorless. So if I had Eldrazi to tactical cast or things I needed colorless, I did have mana for colorless. But as you can see right now, it kind of becomes a little bit of a stalemate. All right, he plays an island. And we can see, like, we start making jokes like around here, like, dude, you're getting your lands back. What the hell? You just sacked them all.
Slowly but surely.
And he passes his turn. Nothing else we can do. We don't want to swing for the leaving anything open. So here I start dying. Like, I'll show you. I'm seeing if I can put the sound for you guys here. I play Yugen's Labyrinth, which at the moment is an island. Which everybody had a great laugh at. It's like, oh, look at that. An island. Another island. This whole time, I think it was like 4 or 5 turns. Much like the beginning where it's just like land back. It's like this time again. Land back. Just gotta do anything. Just, whoever can pull top deck is the one who wins.
Somebody's gonna top deck the victory, bro.
All right, so I play planes and pass.
Preemptively. Well, it's only game 1.
All right, so he does play a snapping Void Crawl. It's a 1/3 to void a Drowsy Turtle. You can tap it to add 2 colorless and pay 3 and a colorless to draw a card. Unfortunately for him, he does not have any colorless on his side because of the fact that he only has basic lands. And anything else that's not on basic, it's an island. So I did pull off a good card here. It's a Static Prison. So it's an enchantment, and it states when it enters the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls and still stasis. Static Prison leaves the battlefield, and you also get 2 energy counters. The reason is that at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, sacrifice Static Prison unless you pay 1 energy. So lucky with those 2 energy coming in, I do have now a total of 5 energy, so I have a total of 5 turns to sacrifice energy before the Static Prison goes away. But I did bring the creature down a little bit now, so it's a 3/3 instead of 6, and I do attack with my Pack Rhino, hoping that he blocks or something.
Oh, use the other guy.
he,
I forgot about that.
he showed the wrong card here. He was trying to play a Reinforce. So what he does here for the Reinforce is he is a Foul Strike, so it's an instant and with destroy target creature or a flying, but he does a Reinforce 2, which is he pays 2 in a green and discards that card to put 2+1/+1 counters on target creature. So I explained to him here, like, hey, when you discard this, the counters stay on this, so it's not like an end of turn thing like that. It's just counters that you're adding that do stay on this creature. So making sure he understood how the Reinforce worked on here, because it's counters and not just like a buff for the until end of turn. And he blocks him. So again, the stalemate continues. I thought I was gonna be able to get through and have him like sack a creature like to the block or anything, but no, it did not work. You're the opponent's reading the card, but really it's another one of those basic lands that's a forbidden landscape. Unfortunately, he can't tap for colorless because it is an island. So he just has plenty of islands on his side if he needs to cast anything with it.
I can still draw cards. I need to actually.
So yeah, he was trying to tap for it, and he's like, "Nope, that's not a color. That's an island." So yeah, so this is when I got, I was able to explain, and one of the things that was different from Modern Horizons 3 is that the actual mana for colorless is not generic, so you can't just tap anything to do it. You have to tap specifically colorless mana in order to get colorless mana, so it's not nothing that you can tap for generic. So I do get the reminder here to make sure I pay the energy to keep the Static Prison up. So now it's all pretty much on the turn. It's 4 more turns and before life. So what happens? So I cast a Rose Scott Knight here. It's a 3/4 human knight with vigilance. It states when it enters the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact or enchantment card from among them and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. If you didn't put a card in your hand this way, put a +1/+1 counter on Rose Scott Knight. So remember that card from match number 1 that I showed you? It's coming back yet again. I go ahead and reveal a Lion Umbra, which of course, if you remember, it's an enchantment that adds +3/+3 and gives a creature vigilance and reach, as well as the creature would be destroyed. Destroy the Umbra instead. So I do go ahead and pay the 3 green for the 2 green for this Umbra to attach it to my creature, which already has another aura attached to it, which means it is a modified creature this time. So I do place them correctly, and the Umbra is not on there. And it does make my thief a 16/17 with vigilance, which is great because I can go ahead and attack and it stays up without having to worry about getting rid of a blocker. So 16/17 with trample, reach, and vigilance. So he double blocks here, but of course those creatures are gone. And he does take 11 damage. Woof.
16, 17.
So now that we're both down to 4 life each, tied it up, so close. But I am on a timer with the 4 because he could bring his his living weapon attachment back as well here. He does play a forest for turn, and I'm hoping to see, and well, I'm hoping that he doesn't have a response. So calls good game as he draws no response on there. So this is actually one of the times my friend comes in and he actually shows me, hey, you know, the Divine Conjurer and your Breaker of Creation, you can actually have a combo that you could have pulled off. You could have been exiling your Breaker of Creation. So the way you do it is you have your Divine Conjurer there, and then you have your Breaker of Creation. When you attack with your Breaker of Creation, so you go into combat, so you go into attack step, you obviously you attack with your Breaker of Creation, which triggers Annihilator. Then whether or not they declare a blocker, of course they declare a blocker, that you let them do that. And right before combat damage, you go ahead and you exile the Breaker of Creation with the Divine Conjurer, which of course exiles the Breaker of Creation and then brings it back. When it comes back, it's no longer in combat, so it does not go to combat damage, but it did trigger the Annihilator 2 off the attack step. So it's a way to save. In my case, I would have been able to save the Breaker of Creation to make sure that I could have, again, the next turn, attacked the Breaker of Creation to make sure that the Annihilator 2 trigger went off again. And pretty much did that until he had nothing else on his board and didn't have to flicker, in this case, my Breaker of Creation, because I was just going to be able to attack directly and he would have no blockers if he had nothing else on the board. So that's one of the things that my friend, told me afterwards to kind of go through, and it's, a pretty sweet combo if I would have been able to pull it off. And of course I've noticed it because at that time I was like, how does the exile work? Doesn't the exile like wait until the end of the turn and then it comes back or whatever? But no, in this case it just flickers, so it comes back right away. But in this case it would have taken it out of combat, so it no longer was in combat, and itself tapped for combat. So it's really interesting how that combo would have worked out if I would have seen the line. Maybe it would have worked out in my other matches as well to see, making sure I didn't take any losses. But for now, that was just a fun match. So showed the beginning, which was a close match as well, but I did lose that one. Showed you my mistake there in match 2 and round 2. And then, of course, I showed you a match from round 3 as well there as well. Great opponent. All of them are great, gracious people, letting me record as well, which was they're nice enough to do so. Of course, I asked each person before I recorded anything for the match, like, hey, you okay if I record this match? Kind of go through that and show you guys as well. So again, big shout out again to Collector Legion for allowing me to record in the shop. Big shout out to my opponents for allowing me to record the match as well. Very great people. Pre-release is always a lot of fun. Modern Horizon 3, I think, had one of the best limited settings in a while that we've had as well. So that was definitely a lot of fun and a lot of great power. And I noticed, like, from everybody else talking, it was a lot of grindy matches. But I think that was a lot of fun because it kind of made a good back and forth in what was happening, and no real big blowouts for everything that was just going through and, happening, all that stuff. But overall, a fun matches, more than anything. Great people that I'm playing with, get to meet new people, get to see what it's up. Having to read through all these cards, though, it's a lot of text. So putting stuff together, it does take a while to read through the cards. So that's one of the reasons why I played some things wrong. Like the Umbra at the beginning with the modified creature, I just assumed that it was just a regular attachment, but it wasn't in this case. But hey, it is what it is. So that is the Modern Horizons 3 pre-release recap for me. Again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that bell notification to notify you of the videos as they come out. So we are deep in the middle of Modern Horizons 3 Play Booster breaks, and of course we have a Collector Booster box as well next week. So the bell notification notify you when we have that, but just in case, it's on Fridays at 10 a.m. If you want to support directly, you can also go to patreon.com/AlexisLopezTCG. You guys can support this channel there. Again, I don't promise to have recaps like this every time I go to weeklies, because I've been going, I just went to an RCQ over the weekend for Pioneer, and I'm going to be trying to do more RCQs for when it comes to Modern, trying to see if any other way possible qualify for an RC. Getting really into the competitive side of things. I'm getting really excited to see what brews come out for this Modern, with Modern Horizon 3 coming out. So I unfortunately cannot record every single thing that I do for the weekly and coming back for and turning it around a week, because this video, I can tell you, took about 2 weeks. And that's just because of all, like, I have like 8 pages of notes on all the game actions to make sure I didn't miss any actions, and explain the cards to you guys, having to gather art, and then obviously having to do this commentary in the end. So it was a lot of work. So I really enjoyed the work that I put into this though, so I hope you guys did too. But so of course, this is why I ask, any feedback, any comments that you guys have, please write down below. It all helps, not just anything with the YouTube algorithm, but also it helps me learn, like, hey, what did you guys like about this? What did you guys want to see different next time? Or just overall, any suggestions, tips, advice that you guys have for stuff like this? Or did you guys even like this video at all? Like, do you guys not want to see stuff like this on the channel? Would you guys like to see more of this in the channel? Let me know. It's all good feedback that I can use, and of course, it lets me know what you guys are looking for and looking forward to seeing. So again, keep right on this channel. We're gonna have more breaks openings for the actual Modern Horizons 3 cards. And of course, as always, if you guys want to pick up any singles or sealed product, check out your LGS first. But if they don't have what you're looking for, check out my affiliate link down below, tcgplayer.com. That's your one-stop shop for all your sealed and singles product when it comes to TCGs, whether it's Magic the Gathering, Lorcana, or even Pokemon. Heck, One Piece there is going up top. You see like different restocks for Romancing Dawn. So check that out. OPO1 is on there as well. The price is going down. Check it out again. The affiliate link down below, to tcgplayer.com, helps support the channel as well. Of course, all the YouTube algorithm stuff definitely helps out the channel, and I appreciate you guys checking out the video. So, as always, I'll see you folks next time. I hope you guys have a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever you may be. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have a wonderful one. Take care. Peace.